So my name is Sean Kelly. I have a gallery in New York. I am from Britain, but I've been in New York since 1989. I was actually trained as an artist, and I practiced as an artist for a number of years. And then I became a curator and a museum director. And then when I moved to America in 1989, I moved from the public sector to the private sector, and I opened a gallery, which I've had ever since. No. My business plan was work with artists, support them, sell their work, pay them, try and make enough money to survive. That was the business plan. I spend my life thinking about the artists. I don't really spend my life thinking about expansion. I'm not really interested in becoming the Boeing Corporation. I'm interested in running the best gallery I can. And it's a different model. It's a model which is much more to do with the origin of how artists work and how they used to work. And I think what we're interested in is a model which is very respectful of the artist's process. I think it's a bit like the difference between having a Hilton hotel and a really wonderful boutique hotel. I'm not really interested in the franchise concept of having a gallery in 11 cities around the world and making an exhibition and shuffling from gallery to gallery. We're much more interested in working with artists to make very specific proposals, which are wonderful for specific spaces. So I think that we're rather more interested in the boutique gallery model than in the sort of corporate gallery model. I think if you do your work well enough and you make a difference, the gallery is an institution. I think Paula Cooper's gallery is an institution, and she has one gallery, but it's about the quality of thinking and the quality of the program, not about how much space you have or how much money you have. I think it's actually more interesting because of the quality of the thinking and the content of the gallery. Firstly, I think it's great that there are more people interested in living artists and contemporary artists than at any point in history. When I started in this industry almost 4 decades ago, you could compare the art market to a stream. Now it's become like the Orinoco River. It's a giant flood. And you see that reflected in attendance at museums like MoMA and the Guggenheim and the Metropolitan Museum, where they almost can't cope with the amount of visitors that they're getting. And and the attendance at art fairs is up enormously. And people are interested in art in many different respects, whether it's with regard to collecting, or it has become fashionable or interesting or entertaining to them. Firstly, I think that's a great thing. I think the more people are interested in contemporary art, the better. And it's important that everybody be able to take from it what they want. Personally, I'm not interested in art as entertainment. I think that culture is enormously important. And the history of humankind teaches us that the most important things that survive our cultural periods are those which tell us the most about who we are culturally, so societally at any given moment in our history. So I think entertainment has its place, but it doesn't make art history. What makes art history is great artists who are thinking great and deep thoughts about what it means to be human in the 21st century, because that's what will define our culture. If you find it entertaining, that's great, but I'm not interested in it being, the statement being a fashion bag or an entertainment spectacle. I'm interested in the content, and that's what this gallery stands for. That's what we're about. We choose artists really on a qualitative basis. We like working with artists who are extremely smart, very often engaged with changing language in a certain way, or actually working with language in a certain way. I would say that many of our artists are very intellectually based. They have very conceptual programs. And it's less, they are less visceral than they are intellectual, conceptually. There are 5 directors at the gallery, and we all travel a lot, and we're all looking all the time for artists. So we're also talking to museum people, to curators, to other artists, to people we work with, but we're going all over the world and looking at gallery and museum exhibitions, and then we bring back information, we share it with our colleagues and we discuss it, and we always want to have a consensus about which artists we might approach or choose to work with. It's very important for us that the directors are all supportive of the decision-making process. So it's not exactly like there's a veto, but it is very much that that all of their voices are heard. It's very rare that we will make a decision that where there is not consensus. You know, I've been asked this on camera before, and my colleagues always shout at me and tell me, oh my God, why did you say that? But I think it's because I come from a background in teaching and being an artist, but we actually do look at every piece of information that's sent to us. And the last time I said this on camera, we got a lot of information, but we really do look at it because we feel it's important and it's respectful to do that. And we're happy to do it as long as it's sent with a return addressed email, envelope. But yeah, we really do look at everything that's sent to us because you can never tell when somebody walks into your gallery or onto your fair, on your booth at an art fair. You can't tell by looking at them who they are. And I think you have to look at the work of an artist to understand who they are. So we do look at it. I think that it's early days for online sales. There's been a lot of talk for well over a decade about the impact of online sales and virtual art fairs, etc. It's never really worked yet in the way that I believe it can work or should work. I think principally because the technology is not caught up with the ideology of what is possible in terms of working with digital and online sales. We do make sales in that way, but I have to say that I think there are very few, there is no substitute for standing in front of the object. I think that standing in front of the object that you are considering living with, acquiring, it's the litmus test. And right now, I don't think there's a good digital equivalent for that. So I think when the technology's there, that will change, but I don't think we're there yet. We have a slight problem with publications because I have 4 libraries and 40,000 books, and I love books. And so we are always thinking of books that we want to make with our artists, and we're always very enthusiastic when our artists come to us with book projects. I still think there are very few experiences in our digital age at the beginning of the 21st century as wonderful as sitting down with a publication. There's no substitute. Looking at images and information on a Kindle or on your cell phone, for me, is no substitute for sitting down with a wonderful book. So we're deeply committed to books, and we spend a lot of time and resources and energy thinking about publications, and we love working on them. So we're very focused on the primary market as a gallery because we regard it as a kind of sacred responsibility to represent our artists and to do the best possible job for them. We work on the secondary market, and we're very active, we're very private about it. But with regard to our own artists, I think that's up to the market. If the market decides to be active in a secondary market way around our artists, there's little you can do about it, and it's fine. I mean, it's about supply and demand. But we don't actively seek it out or encourage it in any way. But we do a lot of work with artists that we don't represent and historical material that we don't represent in the secondary market. I mean, it normally is because we love the material, or we have clients who are building collections. We work with a number of clients very closely where we build collections for them over a long period of time. And so strategically it's important to find material. I personally have a very large collection of Duchamp material, and have worked with Duchamp over the last 3 decades very closely with that material, which perhaps is surprising to some people, but it's very much part of, it's like a foundation for our program, actually. If you think about Joseph Kosuth and Marina Abramovich and Rebecca Horn and other artists, working with Duchamp is very logical. So we have our own interests and things that we pursue, but it's primarily working with clients and building collections. I think, as I said earlier, that when I started in this business, the market was like a stream, and it's now a very, very broad river. And I think one of the characteristics of that increased activity and interest is that there is not one art market. There are many, many, many art markets. The market that I come from is people who are committed to history and culture as collectors in a serious and profound way. I'm really not interested in speculators. I think if you want to make money, then you should go and work in the markets. I really don't want to have conversations with people who are buying work to flip and speculate. Not because they shouldn't protect their money and their investment, not that they shouldn't benefit if the market goes up. But speculators actually damage artists. People who are speculating actually destroy artists and destroy careers and are really like vampires. And I don't like vampire movies, and I don't want to hang out with vampires. I'm really interested in people who love art, and I think that's a different market. But there are lots of different markets, so I don't need to worry about that. I think that like finds like in this world, and I think that speculators know that that's not what we do, so they wouldn't probably be attracted to us. We have a very, very, very strong, very deep, very loyal client base that has grown over 3 decades by referral, because we treat our clients the way that we want to be treated. And we're very respectful, and we take our responsibilities towards our clients very seriously. And I think that we have, I believe, a very good reputation, and people refer others to us for that reason. So, we don't have a lot of problems in that area, because in a way, by the time clients come to us, they probably already know what we do, and they probably know people we work with, and they're probably attracted to working with us because they know that we are, legal, decent, honest, and truthful, and respectful. Well, look, we live in a very valent world. The boundaries up until the current nonsense that Trump is talking about, the boundaries between cultures and societies and borders have been collapsing over the last 30 years in the postmodern period. And the fact of the matter is that to be relevant, I think you have to work across all those platforms, because we have clients in Africa, we have clients in Russia, we have clients in China, we have clients in Iceland, we have clients in Brazil, Argentina. So I think we work across all those platforms. We travel all the time. And I think it's incredibly important to both represent artists from all those different and diverse cultures, but also to be present and visible in those different cultures and making a contribution. Because it's not good enough just to take from a culture. You actually have to go and learn about the culture first. So when we started to work in China, the most important thing for us was to go to China and learn about that culture and really understand it, so that we could position ourselves in a positive and proactive way with Asian clients. So I think it really is, it's a matter of education. And if you're not interested in being educated and learning, this is the wrong job. Well, Trump's a moron. Trump has the attention span of a child. and he's an idiot. So I don't think that one can pay too much attention to Trump, and also he's passing through. I doubt whether he'll be very, very, very long, because the man is such a complete and utter idiot. But you know, when you have a child running the office of the president, the most important institution perhaps in the world, it's bound to make people feel nervous when they have somebody as stupid as Donald Trump is as a president. But I think you could equally say that Brexit is making people nervous in Europe, and all of those things are true. I mean, you know, we live in a very, very strange world right now, where, you know, atrocities are being perpetrated all over the world by ISIS, where, you know, the President of the United States is an unqualified idiot, where the British politicians have screwed up a decision-making process from a democratic electorate and got themselves into trouble. It is a very strange, out-of-balance moment, you know, which coincides with probably the greatest inequality of resources, whether they be financial or ecological or geological, in world history. So is it a time when people have to adjust and they have to rethink what their position is with regard to many different aspects of contemporary culture? Yes, and they're right to do that. But I don't think it's a particularly profound. I wouldn't even give Donald Trump I would not acknowledge it as being about Trump, because I think that's to pay him way too much importance, frankly. I hear people say all the time that, you know, that the art market and the gallery situation has changed so much that you can no longer open a gallery and succeed, that you need to have an enormous amount of money, that you need to have backers, that you need to have connections, that you need to have all these things. I actually don't believe that at all. When I started my gallery, I had no backers, I had no money, family money. I started from scratch with no investment. And I did it because I love working with art, and I did it because I love working with artists. And it was the artists who supported me and helped me and made it possible for me to work. And if any young person came to me and said, you know, do you think this is possible, or should I do this? I would tell them it's absolutely possible and they absolutely should do it, but they've got to understand that they have to be extremely passionate about it, extremely committed to it, and they're going to have to work very, very, very hard, and they're going to have to take risk. And if they aren't prepared to do that, they shouldn't open a gallery, because it's very competitive. It's very, very, you know, it's a very demanding industry, and it's a tough world now, because the current in the river is very strong.